Hello Average Anglers, welcome to another live match of the Average Angler. Today we're doing another round of the Cost Cutter Challenge. I've not been out for a while, I've not done a lot of videoing, I've had some busy times in my businesses, so I've not managed to get out and do any filming, but I'm out today on a Cost Cutter, so I thought I'd better get the cameras out and do some filming because I want to keep the Cost Cutter Challenge going. Sadly, I've just learned this morning that my GoPro's not working anymore, so I've just ordered another one, but so we're on one camera, sorry about that. And we won't pick up any sound from the day off that camera because I ain't really set up for sound on that camera. So I'll have to do a voiceover of the rest of the match. I'm at Acorn, one of my favourite places to come on the Cost Cutter Challenges, and I've drawn peg 38, which isn't a brilliant draw. There's a lot of good anglers here today on good pegs. Des Shipp's on peg 10, he's going to be difficult to beat. Tom Thick's on peg 3. Gary Hoden, who wins here a lot, he's on peg 9, so it's going to be tough to get any sort of result. And off peg 38 is even tougher, but that's match fishing, you know. I've had some good draws just lately, so I can't complain. I'm just going to fish pellet short, probably six mils. I'm going to fish on a top kit, short top kit, and a short number 4. I might set up a line a little bit further down the slope, I don't know yet. I've not got any rigs set up or anything, so I've told my rigs on the bank this morning. I'm very poorly prepared, but luckily it's not too difficult or not too complex is the term I was looking for, and I'll just be able to set up a couple of rigs, and hopefully it's either going to work or it isn't, because you know you've got to do a big weight here to win. The weather's really hot, so I'll have my big hat on. I've got my sort of sun vest on and my sun shirt on, and it's going to be a hot day in the high 20s today. It's this little heat wave we're having at the beginning of September. So let's stop rattling. Next thing you see, it'll be me fishing. Catch you in a bit. So my first hour was quite slow. There was a lot of anglers on it today, and I'm not sure if that was a factor. And also, if you notice, it's really calm where I am, and it's a really hot, bright day. But if you look behind me there, you can see some wind, and a lot of the other pegs on the lake had wind. But having said that, I didn't really see anybody else catching a lot of fish, so I just stuck at what my plan, stuck to my plan, which was to fish in 3 foot of water and just fish hard pellets on the slope and just catch what we can catch. Now I've fished slightly to my left because if I came straight over the top of my keep nets there, I was really close to them and I was just going to end up hooking them, and I've done that before here. And you hook your net usually right in the middle of a good period of fishing, and then you end up spooking the fish for 10 minutes and it just costs you, fish. See me pull a bit of a face there, I think that's a foul hooker. So I started down there to my left, and the first hour was really slow. Like I said, I was feeding 6 mil pellets and I was fishing 6 mil on the hook, and I had about £9 in the first hour. I think that was one fish. It was really slow. And ordinarily on a short line in most venues you just give up and go long, but I didn't have that option. Told you it was foul look at that one. I didn't have that option, so I wanted to stick at this line. So as I said in my intro, I didn't have a lot of time to set up, so all I've done is 2 or 3 rigs for this one line here. That gives me spare rigs so that I can quickly change, because you do, when you're catching a lot of fish fast, you do get broken, or you hook them snaps, or your line gets all kinky and messy, and you just need another rig. And again, I've had that problem before at Acorn, and it's cost me because I haven't been prepared. So catching them, this one's a nice fish here. Now, what you might have seen there or not noticed was when I was feeding, I was putting my hand in the tray at the back and grabbing pellets out of the bag. They're the 4 mil pellets. What I found was after that slow first hour, I switched to feeding 4 mils and kept a 6 mil on the hook, and it definitely improved the bites and the hook up ratios. I started to get proper bites and I started to hook a few fish, and it just got better. And by the end of the second hour, I had £35 in the bag, so that had been a huge improvement, and things were ticking along nicely. And it looked like a low weight day, so I weren't thinking, oh my god, I'm going to need 200 and odd pound to even get anywhere near the frame. It was looking like 100 odd pound might get in the frame. Now obviously fishing hard pellet, you're trying to single out carp and better fish, because that's what hard pellet does. But here in Acorn there are some real quality silvers as well that do occasionally come up on that 3 foot line. I didn't have a lot on the day, but this is a lovely fish here, so I thought I'd run this little bit of video for you guys, and I actually show you this lovely tench that I've just landed. I think he was probably over £4, and I weighed the silvers net at the end. I can't remember exactly what I had. It was only £7 or £8 or something like that, but it was mostly this tench and a couple of sort of £1.5 skimmers that had also made an appearance on that short line later in the day. but there's lots of tension acorn, sort of this stamp and a few even slightly bigger, and they're lovely to catch. So I thought I'd show you that while we've got the opportunity. So you can see now on my side tray that I've got a little bait tub. Oh, just there we are. Look that fish. On my side tray, I've put a little bait tub on top of my 6mm, and that's full of 4mm because I've carried on feeding the 4mm because it's definitely better. There we are. You see me chuck some 4mm in there, and that's how I'm kind of feeding it. Feeding it with quite big pinches of pellet because these fish are prone to coming up and fishing off the bottom. Sorry, not fishing off the bottom, but coming up off the bottom and sort of annoying you. I try to just feed them with a reasonably heavy amount of bait and then just wait. I'm not sort of chucking it in every 2 or 3 minutes, and just try to get them to only go on have it on the bottom, because if you feed small amounts regularly, you're in big danger here with these fish, and this, especially on this hot day as well, even more so, of them just coming in shallow, and I'm trying to get them down that 3 foot catcher. You can see this is a small carp. This is the thing with Acorn. There's a huge stamp range of fish. You can have stockies of £1 right up to sort of 8 or 9 pounders. So you just got to keep working through them, and hopefully you'll put a nice bag together. In the third hour, we managed to get up to about £55 on the clicker. So again, it had slowed a little bit, but it was still middle of the match, still only halfway through, and the venue was fishing hard, so I just kept at it. You can see there, that's still fishing the same spot, still doing the same stuff. But you might notice that I've moved the 4mm little bait tub off, and I've switched back to 6mm. A lot of those small sort of stocky fish showing, and I just thought it's time to just now. I've got some fish there. Maybe if I switch to 6mm, I can just start to, encourage the better fish to get involved. These small fish, like this one's a small fish, they do take a bit of landing because they're just so energetic. But you can't turn your nose up them because you've just got to keep putting weight in the net. There you are. That's 6mm there. Hook a fish. This looks like a better fish because he's sort of not being so erratic. And then I'm trying to guess now roughly where the float was because I've waited too long to feed, and then I can concentrate. So that's how I fish. When the fish are starting to have it, that's how I do it here. I sort of hook one, feed, and then I take my time. I've got quite a heavy elastic, like a 19 elastic through a short number 4. So through a short top 3. So it just plays the fish really quickly. I just let that happen. I don't pull them hard until I'm ready to land. Now here I'm lifting and dropping. Now you've got to mess about with this sort of technique on different ways of laying the rigging, but what I found was if I did that, what I've just done there, you'll see quite often that happened. And I feel like that's a lot of fish just sort of hovering around the area, perhaps not quite on the bottom, and you just lift that bait up and they see it dropping, and they just grab it. Sometimes you can lower the rigging slowly, which I may or may not have some footage of me doing later. And you can also see now, look, I've played that fish quite hard and aggressive and landed him quite quickly because I'm starting to catch a few fish. So whenever there's a few fish around, another example, look, hook, feed, net's already in my hand. I'm already thinking about netting this fish. So whenever there's a few fish around, I do sort of try to be a little bit more efficient with my netting. Just stripped a little bit of elastic out there. So one sort of strip with this short kit, sometimes 2, and you're ready to land him. I've given that fish line back, look, big or elastic back there because he's pulled too hard. So you've got to be careful, obviously, but that's what I kind of try to do. I took it easy in the first couple of 3 hours. I want to make sure every fish goes in, but as the match progresses on, I'm a little bit more positive in how I play the fish because I want to try and catch up on the anglers that have had a few fish earlier in the match. So we're 4 hours in now. We've just about clicked over 70 odd on the clicker. I have got more than 2 nets in the net. You can't see the nets there to my right. I only keep 2 nets in front of me and then I put them to the right each one. So the one on the left is silvers and the one on the right is my carp. Each time I fill it up to about £50, I move it to the right there. I've just kept on doing what I was doing, and I'm starting to get the feeling now, coming into the last 2 hours, that if I'm going to, make any sort of impact in this match, then I need to start catching a few. But that's generally what happens anyway. The fish will come in short. And, at the start of the match, I was thinking, is fishing one line short a good move? There's a lot of people go out long here and catch early, but in all honesty, looking around, I didn't feel like a lot of people were that far ahead of me. Certainly the guys that I can see that were in my vicinity. Obviously there's a whole bank I can't see of anglers, and the guys on the flyers on sort of 9 and 10 are a bit far away to see. But from where I was, I felt like I was in the mix with the anglers around me, which is all you can really hope for in match fishing, because you can only really try and beat the people around you, because if you're trying to beat every peg all the time, you're going to be disappointed, because sometimes you just can't beat the flyers. So just kept at it. Again, I'm still feeding 6 mils now. You saw me feed 2 handfuls there. Well, I think I fed 2 handfuls because the first handful didn't go where I wanted it to. It wasn't because I've upped my feed or anything. Just try to keep a rhythm and a routine. And what I had found was I wasn't being patient enough. So if I put the rig on top of that bait now and I didn't have a bite after a minute or two, I was throwing another big pinch, and I think that was probably slowing the swim down, and sometimes I just needed to wait. So we're into the final hour now. I think I had just a little over £100 on my clicker at this point. And so going into the last hour, I needed a really good last hour. People started to catch around me in the last hour as well. So other people that hadn't caught much started to catch, and that was worrying because I was watching them, and some of them were catching faster than me. And I think maybe I was under clicking a little bit as well, because I think I probably had a little bit more than £100 coming into this last hour. Because my nets weighed a little bit more than I thought they did. But that's the problem with these small little stockies and sort of fishing the £1, £2 bracket. I find it really hard to guess them. I didn't have my right way on today. So, because I just, I find when I'm catching a lot of fish, it just adds another 20 seconds to the process of, each time you're on your way in the fish, and that can add up over the day. And if you can catch one more fish, even on these big weights that they've been getting here at Acorn, one more fish can often bump you up a place or even 2 places, especially if it's one of the 8 or 9 pounders. So the last hour was probably my best hour, although this bit of clip that we show in a minute, doesn't look like it is. But what I've done is I've put a little bit of footage in here just to show that it wasn't all. I mean, at the moment, if you look at the video, it looks like it's all just bagging, but it wasn't. So I thought I'd leave a little bit in and just talk about how you have to be a bit patient. I'm there. I'm carefully selecting a nice 6mm pellet. I'm trying to find one that's nice and big and going to stand my band. You can see how short my lash is there, and then I swing the rig away from me so that it comes up onto that slope. And because the lash is so short, you've got to keep the pole tip really still. And you can see me fidgeting here with the pellets, and I'm desperate to feed. And I'll probably feed. There we are. I probably don't need to, but I fed anyway. And just to the right of the float there, and that's how I wanted it to be, because, like I said, that it's sloping away from me. There must have been an indication because I've lifted, but it's sloping away from me, so I want the pellets to be below. I don't want the fish coming up the bank and colliding with my line and give me lots of false indications. I get enough false indications as it is. So if you feed so that the bait's landing down the slope from where you're fishing, in theory the fish are feeding on that and they're out of the way of your rig, and then every now and again one pops up a bit higher up the slope and grabs your pellet. That's the theory. I don't know if that's how it works or not. So you can see I left this little bit in because you want to see that you do have to sit there and you have to wait, and you're often missing lots and lots of bites, and it's not just a case of, every time the float goes under you get one. Because I've only got the one camera today, and it's not the highest resolution, it's hard to see, but that float is always moving. And you'll see me do little lifts. I try to get there. That was a little strike, and then there was nothing there. So what I do is I just lift the rig out again and drop it, just to try and see if I can entice a bite, because a lot of these fish were grabbing it as it sailed. And I do try to just do little tiny lifts, so that hopefully that avoids hooking any foul hookers unless they're really, really close to the bottom. So if it's half depth and I only lift the hook, 2 or 3 inches, and I can't foul hook it. And then the beauty of that is that quite often after you do a strike or a little mini strike and drop the rig back, and it goes again straight away, it's like it's almost like you've jigged it in front of the fish. But yeah, a lot of them fidgeting again to feed. And what I found was that's not quite as accurate, that feed, so I'll probably feed again. Yeah, here we go. And then that was even worse, so now I'll give up, because I'll end up chucking in about 14 handfuls out. And I'm having a little tap on the surface now because I wasn't happy with them feeds. I need to make a bit of noise just where that float is to make sure the fish come and have a look underneath. So I believe that the fish are that good at now and that tuned in that they'll go right underneath where that noise was made to have a look where the food's gone. So I'll just sit there patiently now until I hook one. So yeah, it's not the most exciting video, and there's not a lot of dynamic different tactics or fishing different areas and building up different bits of parts of the swim, but this approach, or similar to this, sometimes I'll have different lines up and down the slope rather than just one. I literally fished down one sort of jam jar today. Well, there we are, got one in the end. Yeah, this sort of approach is what I've been doing in it. And to be fair, I think out the last 4 or 5 times that I've fished Acorn, I've got into the frame for 4 out of 5 times. So it works for me. I haven't necessarily won them all. I might have won one of them, but it gets you in the frame. And so, being that positive and just fishing and just working it out is probably the way to go. Although sometimes I do have rigs for slightly further up and down the slope when I've got a bit more time and I'm prepped a bit better. That was a nice big one to finish on. See how we got on.
That's it then, guys. End of the match. Absolutely sweating me head off. It's been really, really warm today. And I think the hot weather and a few extra anglers on it has made it fish a bit harder than it would normally fish, but there's still been some good weights. So Des Shipp's won the match off peg 9. He's had 180 something. And then a guy on peg 21, he's had 160 something, although he has lost a whole net, so he should have won the match, but he went over in one of his nets. And then Gary on peg 9 has pipped me to 3rd by a pound, and I've ended up getting 4th, which I'm not too disappointed with, because peg 38 is not exactly a flyer, so sneak into the frame. They do pay quite a lot of places here on these cost cutters. So at the start of the day, we had £65 in the kitty for the cost cutter challenge. We paid 15 quid for the match, put us down to 50 quid, and then we've won 20 quid, so we're 5 quid up, so we're back to 70 quid. So brilliant. We're on the rise. We keep moving in the right direction at the moment. So after having a long run of losing money, we seem to have found a bit of form, and we've probably picked up like in the last 3 or 4 cost cutters in a row. So that's nice. That just puts us back in a really nice position that we can do a few matches. And if I get settled down over the next month or so, then maybe I'll be able to do some different venues as well, instead of it being Acorn all the time. Right, guys, catch you in a bit.